What's the most money you've ever found? Literally anywhere. I hate when people aren't grateful. Years back, my husband and I went on a trip to California. We rented a car for a week to do some exploring. We'd had the car for a day or so and were about 250 miles from where we rented it. I reached in the glove box for something and there was $2,400 in cash and about 8 different checks, totaling up to about another $5,000. It was obviously rent collection from a landlord who had rented the car before us and forgotten to take the money. We called the rental car company to let them know. They called us back the next day and had the audacity to ask us to drive back to the rental office to bring the money and checks back. We were like, no, we're about 400 miles away from your office and we are on our vacation. We are not wasting our time and effort to resolve this problem that we had no part in creating. You will have the car and the checks, money back when we return the car. The rental car guy was pissed and argued with us saying his client needed the checks and cash. We told the guy we could set a meeting point up where we were. He refused. How sad. Too bad. I could not believe it. The absolute nerve. So, we thoroughly enjoyed the rest of our vacation. Left the check and cash in the glove box and that was that. We returned the car at the end of our rental and it was the same guy. Guess he was the manager. And he was like, "You're finally back. The prior renter has been waiting for his items." Dude, if it was so important to your prior renter, then he should have taken the items out of the damn glove box when he turned the car in, or come to meet us to retrieve them. We were afraid they were going to charge me for some kind of bogus damage to the car or something, but nothing came of it. I also didn't complain as it wasn't one of the major car rental companies, but small, private rental co. I know nothing would have come of it and I just never, ever rented from that place again, going on about 20 years now. I honestly don't even know if this company still exists. Had I known how it was gonna play out, I would have pocketed the cash, trashed the checks and not mentioned a single word about it. No good deed goes unpunished. Something similar happened to me once. I used to work at a local park as a sort of park supervisor. One night while I was walking through the park, I found a wallet on the ground. So I picked it up and kept it, hoping someone would come get it. I also decided to check the local community Facebook page to see if someone had posted about it. And sure enough they had. So I messaged them to come back to the park to get it. They told me they had looking all over and in all the garbage cans for it. It wasn't uncommon for people to take the cash out and toss the wallet if they found one. Then, they got upset at me for picking it up off the ground. They were apparently still in the park, but left their wallet unattended in the grass and said I should have left it there and not touched their stuff. I just found it confusing as that same guy and his friends came to see me on multiple occasions, asking to see the cameras because their stuff got stolen. I found 800. Walked into a fish market I go to often and this time there was no staff in sight. At the counter, next to the register was a rolled up stack of hundreds with a rubber band. Keep in mind it was next to the register, out on the customer's side. But I instantly thought, since it was rolled up like a toilet paper tube, that they may have been doing taking or adding cash and it rolled out without it then noticing. About 15 sec later I see the owner come out. I always see her and she doesn't speak English well, so I sort of point at the cash, pick. She looks at where I'm pointing but guess from her angle she can't see the cash, so I pick it up. Hold it up and say, "Someone's going to take this." She looks confused. I hand it to her. Her eyes go wide and she stares at me confused. I tell her it was on the table. And she says, "Oh, okay." I keep in case they come back and she counts it in front of me. 800. I ask for extra tartar sauce and she charges me 25 cents. She puts the 800 in her pocket. 700. I found the guy's entire wallet, and it had $700 cash in it. I then went on FB to find the guy. I sent him a message on there, but he didn't respond. So I sent one to his GF. No response. I then noticed that me and his GF had one mutual friend, so I got a hold of him. He got a message through to them, told them where to find me. The guy shows up. I hand him the wallet, and not even a thank you. He just seemed annoyed by the whole thing. I still don't regret doing the right thing, because keeping it wouldn't have sat well with me. And not offering a cash reward is also fine. I just didn't understand the attitude. It was so weird. Dude, you dropped your wallet in the hallway of a hotel, and I went way out of my way to get it back to you. WTF. Oh, and for clarification, I worked at a hotel that allowed locals to come swim. He came to swim and dropped his wallet. Lol, if this counts, but when my grandma, who grew up in the Depression era, tasked we had to practically tear apart her walls BC she had stashed money everywhere. There was like a can of peas in her freezer, with frozen peas still in it, that we almost threw out, before realizing she had also frozen a plastic baggie with $100 in it. In the bottom of the can, my grandpa's wee uniform that was in a display case on the wall had a couple hundreds hidden in the pockets. We actually didn't find that until many years later BC. We obviously kept the uniform in the family lol. The case broke 1 year, so we got a new one for it and found the bills then lol. There was a $20 bill rolled up in the little cigarette lighter hole in her car. There was cash in a baggie taped to the inside of the lid of the toilet tank. Granny got creative lol. Think we wound up with about $4,000 in cash by the end of it. God knows how much more we accidentally gave away or just never found lol. I'm not even sure if she remember what all was there by the time she died. I found $650 on the dock at Marina still in its bank envelope. I was 16 at the time, out with my family, over Memorial Day weekend. Felt really bad for whomever lost it because that was their holiday weekend vacation fund. Turned it into the marina. Left my contact info just in case nobody came back to claim it. Dock worker called and said the family came back in tears looking for it. And we're very grateful it was turned in. Kind of figured he pocketed the cash and lie. Fast forward to Christmas that year. I got a Christmas card in the mail with a $50 bill in it and a heartfelt thank you letter from the mom of the family. A rare instance of doing the right thing paying off. Years ago I found a wallet at bus station containing $320. I was deep into a Percocet addiction at this time. I had a guy selling 30s for $30 a piece. Those little baby blues. I was super happy, ready to call up my guy and get high as fuck. I couldn't do it. I was fucked up, but my conscience just wouldn't let me do it. So I searched the wallet and found a student ID from the local community college. Searched her on Google, made a Facebook post asking if anyone knew her. No dice. Then I found a check made out to her tucked into the side pocket, with a guy's name that matched her last name on it. So I googled that name and found a whole website. Turns out he was a local preacher, and nearby church, there was contact info on the site. So I called him up and told him I'd found his daughter's wallet. Met up with both of them, and gave the wallet and all the cash back. And I must say, seeing how happy she was to get her wallet back provided a much better high than crushing up a 30 milligrams Percocet and putting it up my nose. That high would have been fleeting. The feeling I got from giving the wallet back lasted forever. Some friends and I found a wallet with $1,200 in it. It has the guy's ID. So we looked him up, old school phone book in a booth 40 years ago. Gave the guy a call, and he said he'd be right there and we better be there or else. About 15 minutes later, the dude shows up and demands to know who has his wallet. I go to hand it to him, and he snatches it away and says, all of my money better fucking be there. He counted it, turned around and walked off. Not even a thank you. Had we known the guy was going to be such a dick, we would have all had new bikes. Found roughly $2,000 in an open envelope literally right in front of the time clock. Thinking it was someone's rent, I took it up to the plant manager. When I gave it to him, he looked at me with such surprise like I was supposed to keep it lol. A few weeks later, he walked up to and handed me the envelope. Nobody ever claimed it, so he said he wanted me to have it for being honest. Good deeds always pay off one way or another. Do the right thing, folks, even when no one is looking. Once I found $600 in cash walking out of a Whole Foods. I considered keeping it, but the thought genuinely didn't sit right with me. I turned it in at customer service. They told me if nobody comes to claim it, I would get the money. I left them my phone number and went back to work. About an hour later, I got a call from a number I did recognize. It was the person that had accidentally dropped their money. They were in tears thanking me because it was their rent money and they were literally on their way to drop it off to their landlord when they lost it. I was immediately glad I had turned it in. $20. A little background. It was a great teaching moment. I'm 63, was 57 when I found it. I'm a retired teacher. Coach and I found a $20 bill in the hallway and turned it into the office. Yeah, I taught 5th and 6th grade at a very poor, rural, 95% black elementary school in the deep south. Anyways, she asked me what I did with it and I said I turned it into the office. See? A 5th grader asked me why I didn't keep it, and I said because it wasn't mine. He said yeah, but that was $20, which was a significant amount of money in his world. One said, well, see, if I found $20 and it was yours, wouldn't you hope that I turned it in instead of keeping it? Don't remember his exact answer, but I think he finally understood it was just the right thing to do. And I said sometimes it's really hard to do the right thing. So he was a great kid, and I hope he and the others learned something from my impromptu lesson. Best job I ever had. About 10 years ago at a festival, I found a wallet loaded with cash and tried to hand it to the people it was found next to. None of them moaned it or wanted it. Finally, I look at the ID and walk around calling out that name, only to find a guy absolutely fried out of his brain, waving his arms around like it's me. That's when I walk over, ask him if it's his, and say his name again. He says yup and matches the ID, so I hand it to him. He then says, you found this and didn't even take the cash. Here, take this. He handed me $550 in cash and said, I'm not gonna need it. You take it as a thank you. Was such a weird turn of events to find that, hand it back to the owner and then be given that much cash out of nowhere. But I guess most people wouldn't have returned it to begin with. When I was a freshman in high school, I lived with my mom and my older brother. He had just graduated high school and he was going to college. A bunch of his friends weren't either, and they would hang out a lot. We were a pretty poor family living in a relatively wealthy town. We went on our yearly week-long vacation to stay at a family friend's house near the ocean, and when we got back our apartment had clearly been robbed. Later learned that it was one of my brother's friends and we never saw him again. A bunch of my N64 games were stolen, some money and jewelry from my mom's room, random stuff, and my brand new bike. It was birthday gift from my dad, and it was awesome. Anyway, while I'm walking around our apartment in kinda a daze looking to see what was taken, I picked up a giant conch shell we had in the bathroom. I put my hand inside to hold it and felt plastic. Turns out my mom had stored a sandwich bag full of money inside years ago and forgot about it. We ended up having more money, and we did before we got robbed. When I was 16, I found $3,200 in an envelope. I hid it from everyone, especially my parents, because they would have made me take it to the police. I bought a PlayStation N64, PlayStation 2 when it came out, several games, and even ended up building myself a computer. By the time the money was found, it was $1,100 left in it. I said it was mine. I said I didn't want to spend it due to constantly spending my paychecks on BS. So I pulled $200 out of my check each month, then put it in an envelope. My parents took me up to Washington Mutual, this is how long ago it was, and opened a savings account for me. I immediately withdrew everything out and put it into my bank account, and built the aforementioned computer with it. They tried selling it, but once they saw how much I built it for, they realized no one would buy it for that price. Over $1,000 for a computer to play games on when a PS1 cost $150 back then. The money itself was from an older person who was entering dementia. I found this out long after the money disappeared through a random conversation in church. Small town, religious parents, the person who had dementia either already passed or had passed soon after. I felt quite guilty for a week or two. Then CNC Generals came out. Not my proudest moment. I was walking down the street and found a folded up 20 note on the floor. I picked it up thinking sweet 20. It became apparent very quickly that it was more than one note. I unfolded the bundle. It was 200. I looked up and down the street and noticed a dude wearing pink trousers, checking his pockets, looking around confused. I pocketed the cash and hurried along thinking this is all. I need to finally afford an Xbox 360. In hindsight, I should have given him back his money. In reality, I spent it on a council tax bill and didn't get a 360 for another year. This was probably close to 20 years ago. I think it's the pink trousers that has made it stick in my mind so vividly. $40,000 CDN. Driving down a country road, I just happened to glance at the culvert alongside the road and saw a white box with what I was sure was a combination dial. Stopped, turned around, and there was a safe, half in the mud, sitting in this culvert. I took it home, mulled over what I should do, then drilled and took a grinder to it and popped it open. No documents, just cash, several $1,000 bills, and the rest was hundreds and fifties. We don't even make $1,000 bills anymore and the banks are pulling them out of circulation. The outside of the safe was so weather-worn that I think it had been there for a long time. Saturday morning, 1985. I was 13. The Saturday morning special that came at the end of Saturday morning cartoons just came on. And that was our cue to vacate until dinner time. I lived less than a half-mile from town and would meet friends and we would walk around, go to the park, go to the arcade, go to someone's house for lunch. There was one park we never went to because it was known for drug activity. But that particular morning, no one was there, so we played on the equipment as we walked through. Under the slide, I noticed something and looked at $1,000 cash. I pretended to fall down and grabbed it and put it in my pocket, and I even cried a little and said I wanted to leave so no one would be suspicious. I was shifty back then, I guess. We left, and as soon as we got to a safe place, I showed my friends what I found. But I only showed them $200. We spent the day at a place called Fisher's Newsroom and bought candy, soda, magazines, and then went and had Burger King for lunch. I then split what was left of the $200 between me, my sister, and our four friends. Took the rest home and hid it. And anytime I wanted something my mom couldn't afford, I bought it myself, but it was mainly made and Teen Bop magazines, a soda, and some candy. I was living like a queen that summer. Years ago, I went to an ATM in Washington, D.C. late evening. When I walked up, sitting on the little shelf was a canvas bank bag with about $2,500 in Canadian currency. I took it home and called the bank the next day and told them what I found. Apparently they knew about it, and it had been an employee mistake somehow. They insisted that I needed to bring back the bag as soon as possible. I told them that they could come to my office and pick it up, that there was no way I was going to trek across town, wasting my lunch break, just because of a mistake they made. They never made arrangements to pick it up, and some months later, I did a currency conversion on it when I was on a trip to Japan. Circa 2011, I was working as a cashier at a grocery store. I found an envelope with $300 in it at the foot of the bagging area. I was poor as hell, and that money would have helped big time, but whoever had brought it had written food money on the envelope. If that envelope had been blank, I would have tucked it into my apron and kept it. But as soon as I read the front, I knew that there was nothing I could spend it on that would offset the knowledge that someone else was going hungry because of it. So I turned it in at the cash office. A week later, I got a handwritten note. It had apparently belonged to an old lady who lived alone and had torn her apartment apart looking for it. Confirmed that she would have starved without it. Said she wanted to leave me a reward, but had nothing to spare. I had complex feelings about it, but knew that I did the right thing. I found $100,000 in my old house where I discovered undisclosed repairs done to cover up termite damage and sued the previous owner for non-disclosure. As for cash, I found $100 once at a casino and turned it into $0.